And we're back. Mike Cernovich, DangerPlay.com, Gorilla Mindset. Brief late night Periscope. I haven't been following the news much lately. And then I read Trump had some kind of talk or some kind of speech. I've been disconnected. The movie's out on iTunes. It's going to be on DVD. What the fuck is this tax cut bullshit? Right? I was at the gym. I was finishing my workout. I turned on the Twitters, and I see that Trump apparently gave some talk tonight talking about Obamacare and then tax cut bullshit. Oh, I'm going to give you a great, glorious tax cut after Romney Care or appeal. What the fuck? Where did this happen? What did I miss out on here? You know, like I said, I've been laying low. Haven't been watching the news. Who the fuck is telling Trump of tax cuts? I pay the top tax rate. I paid the highest taxes. I don't want a fucking tax cut. Alright? The Rockville rape that happened today by illegal immigrants, or not that happened today, the Rockville rape that happened recently, that's why I voted for Trump. The terrorist attacks that we have going on in Paris, in Sweden, in Germany, that's all coming here. That's going to be here very soon, and we will never get another Republican president elected again. That's why I voted for Trump. I don't give a fuck about a tax cut, and I pay a lot of taxes. And I don't give a fuck about Romney Care. Romney Care is a debacle. So where did this come from? We need to do Romney Care, and then we need to do a tax cut. No. Ryan Care? Romney, I mean, same difference. That's the whole thing. So Shauna said it's Ryan Care. Yeah, it's Mitt Romney bullshit. Mitt Romney adopted Romney Care in Massachusetts and whatever. Mitt Romney, Paul Ryan, how are they any different? Tell me the difference between Mitt Romney, Paul Ryan. That's why I didn't vote in 2012. Didn't care. So I know a lot of Trump supporters. Find me an early Trump supporter who gives a F-U-C-K about tax cuts. An early Trump supporter. Not the Johnny-come-latelys, not the bandwagon people, not the GOP consultant class and the lobbyists and everybody who once Trump won, now they're Trump supporters. No. Find me an actual Trump supporter who is talking about tax cuts, how tax cuts should be anything approaching a priority. Find me one. You're not going to find any. This is Reince Priebus. This is why when Reince Priebus was head of chief of staff, we weren't happy about that. And I said this is a big mistake. I said it's a huge mistake to have him do that. Trump will lose the base. Here's the reality. Little real talk about people. All right? Real talk. Most people don't have jobs. Most people either have no job at all or they're underemployed. People making $15 an hour, $12 an hour, if they have a job. This is dumb, okay? This is dumb. You need to find a way to create jobs for people, to increase the wages of Americans. Keep terrorism out of America. And the way you do that is you got to build the wall. You have to build the wall. You have to have real immigration restrictions in America. You have to keep out the terrorists. Real simple. Most people don't even have jobs because labor and wages have been suppressed so much. It's only going to get worse with automated driving and AI coming. With automation coming now and self-driving trucks, people don't even know. People don't even know what's going to happen next. I know what's going to happen next, and I'm telling you. Low corporate tax rates he ran on. You're blocked for being stupid. Hold on, I missed your comment. I'll block you again. Post your dumb comment again how he ran on corporate taxes. Tell me what Trump ran on, please. Go ahead here. Why don't you go and tell a guy who wrote a book on Trump and how Trump was going to win the election before the election? You know how many times taxes are mentioned in my book? You know how many times I mention taxes in my books? Unless my editor slipped it in here, 0 times. 0 times. It's not mentioned. The reason Trump was winning, and I knew he was going to win before almost anyone else, it has nothing to do with taxes. It has to do with culture, the pushback against politically correct culture, building the wall, free speech. Nothing about taxes has anything to do with any of this shit. So if you're telling me Trump ran on low taxes, you're a moron or a shill, and you have to get out of here. You're not intelligent enough to be in the room. You're out of the room because you're uninformed, moron, fool, or you're shill. You gotta go back. You gotta go back. So there's these cultural issues. It is white guilt. White guilt is actually mentioned in white guilt is actually mentioned here on the attack on white people. Oh, gee, what a coincidence that white working class voters who hadn't voted for a Republican in 12 years suddenly voted for Trump. Suddenly, oh, magically. Trump only won Pennsylvania, but you seem far too arrogant. You're blocked. This isn't arrogance. This is just actual accomplishment. This is actually being able to foresee the future before it happened. So if you think that that's arrogant, show me your writing. Show me your articles and your books and the things that you wrote where you said all this was going to happen. The war on whites is actually mentioned in MAGA Mindset, right? The war on white people, the attacks on white people. This idea now that people want to murder whites and that white people should be able to be raped by illegal immigrants. This is the Rockville rape. This is what that was about. They actually deleted a tweet. The resistance, the official account of the resistance even said, we need to send immigration advocates to Rockville. After a 14-year-old girl was locked in a closet by two 18-year-old boys, they were freshmen in high school, two 18-year-olds with a deportation order, took a girl, locked the door. One raped her, and there's no way to put it, they raped her in the ass. I mean, you know, you can say digitally penetrated, they raped her in the ass. And while one guy did it, they heard somebody coming out, so another guy went and watched, and they told her if she talked, they were going to kill her. That's what happened. That's the reality. I don't do politically correct talk. I don't talk about, oh, it was digital penetration. No, they raped her in the ass and told her they were going to kill her if anything happened. And what happened is immigrants, what do you call them? The resistance said they want illegal immigrant rights activists there. This is what we're up against. Even when a 14-year-old girl is raped, all that matters is illegal immigration. That is all they care about. So why is Trump not talking about it? Why is Trump not talking about the Allman brothers? I gotta be quiet because Cyrus is asleep. You're lucky. I'm starting to get fired up. I feel it's midnight. Cyrus in bed though, so I gotta keep the noise level down. But I feel I'm getting wound up, guys. I'm getting wound up tight. Why is Trump not talking about the Allman brothers? Two people, or at least two people with connections to ISIS and the Muslim Brotherhood, had access to every Congress email. They had top secret security clearance. They were part of the Muslim Brotherhood. They were part of ISIS. Congress. These were Democrat staffers. Why is Trump not talking about it? Why is Trump not talking about the biggest story? Every email that was sent to Congress, received from Congress, including top secret. The Democrats gave terrorists top secret access to every email. Why isn't Trump talking about it? Talking about tax cuts. Tax cuts. Like I'm reminded of the Allen Iverson thing. We're talking about practice. We're talking about practice. Why are we talking about tax cuts? The Democrats allowed terrorists to have access to all IT, all information technology. Every server, every email, they read it all, and they were given clearance, and this is the Democrats. The fake news media is not going to cover it. Fake news media is not going to cover it. And Trump has to cover it. He has to tweet about it. He has to send that link out to the Daily Caller and push the story and make it go live. So why are we not talking about high-impact stories? Instead, we're talking about low-impact stories. Low-impact tax cuts BS. We need to be talking about the election issues that matter. But that's just where we're at. The Reince Priebus Yeah, I'm sick of the healthcare. The healthcare thing, here, let me tell you healthcare right now. Obamacare is going to fail, and it's going to fail by the end of the year. You have to let it fail. You have to let Obamacare fail. Why do you have to let Obamacare fail? Because there's no way to reform healthcare currently on the table. There's no way to reform it. There's always going to be human suffering. There's always going to be a line drawn. There's always going to be a death panel. That's the whole thing people don't realize. You're always going to have to draw a line. Do you fund every drug? Does every patient get every drug? Well, what if the drug might not work? What are the probabilities you play? It's so complicated, and you're always going to find some victim that you can put up there and showcase, and it's bad PR. It's always going to fail. You don't want anything to do with it. And Ryan Care doesn't do anything. So now you have a failed healthcare program with Obama's brand. Or you take the blame yourself with Ryan Care, and then it now becomes your disaster, your boondoggle, your quagmire. Call it. It's another Vietnam War. It's an information warfare. It's like another Iraq War or another Vietnam War. It's crazy. You don't want anything to do with healthcare. Let it fail, and then when it fails, you're going to have the leverage to do whatever you want. So now we went from, you've got to build the wall, we got to make America safe again, we got to keep out the terrorists, to now we're talking about healthcare, and we're talking about tax rates and corporate tax rates. Nobody cares. Nobody cares, right? Trump is being played by Reince Priebus. I wish Bannon had more influence than he does. Trump is being played by Reince Priebus. There's no question about it. He's being lied to. He's not listening to the people who got him elected, the real base of people. Trump got elected 44,000 people. And margins were this thin, right? Margins were this thin. And that was the base. That wasn't the GOP. That was the base. What is going to happen if the base loses enthusiasm for Trump? Because he steps away, they'll impeach him. The Republicans will impeach him. These Paul Ryan people, they're not his friends. They're not bros. They're not buddies. They're looking to sabotage him. Trump better get health care right. He can't. That's the whole point. You cannot get health care right. I will tell you why you can't get health care right. There's a state that has, I was actually thinking about this walking the trail, and I'll tell you why you can't get health care right now. There's a state, I can't remember which state it was, maybe Washington or somewhere, but they essentially have single payer, and to get approved for drugs, cancer drugs, whatever drugs, it's called the 5x5 rule. If a drug has a 5% chance of expanding your life by 5 years, then you get approved for the drug. 5x5, right? Well, why is it 5% for 5 years? Why isn't it 4.3 or 7.2? And why is it 5 years instead of 6 years or 3? The point is, people are going to die. People get sick. People are going to die. Every healthcare decision is going to be an arbitrary line drawn. Okay, well, this drug only has a 4% chance of expanding your life, but therefore we can't give it to you, right? Therefore, we can't give it to you. Do you want your name anywhere to do that? Tell people. That's one reason I don't like what I don't like about the traditional conservatives is they go, oh, you should have thought about that. You should have saved money for your health care, right? That's a complete lack of not only compassion, but just a lack of optics. You don't want to be the person. You don't want to be the person telling you, hey, you're going to die. You should have saved money. Duh, tough luck. You know, it's like some people are saying, oh, fuck that shit. No empathy. No empathy, bro. Real easy for you to say, dude. Real easy for you to say until there's a sick kid going through chemotherapy. You're going to tell that sick kid, hey, we're not going to give you this drug because there's only a 4% chance that it's going to do anything for you. And really has to be a 5% chance or a 10% chance, right? You're going to be that person. That's your image, right? Don't get sick. I bet you're, don't get sick. I bet you, you're not in even good shape. I bet you don't even take care of yourself, right? People get sick, dude. Things happen. And the solution is, I don't even know what the solution is, but, well, I mean, I know what the solution is. You have to go to a deductible on insurance based on income, and then you have to go to some form of single payer. There's just really no way around it. And you have to legalize marijuana. You have to start negotiating with drug companies for drug prices. You have to allow importation. That's the whole thing. You guys might like no single payer. Good, you live in fantasy world. There is. That's the whole point. There is no solution. There is no solution. That's the whole point. That's why people are, well, you can't have single payer. Great. What's your proposal? What's your proposal? Free market. Okay, tell me how the free market works. Tell me how the free market is going to work. Go ahead. I don't want to hear empty, basic bitch, conservative slogans. I want to hear actually ideas. What is actually going to work? Oh, free market, no single payer, don't get sick. You better save money. Right? So the point of all this is real talk on politics. Real talk on politics is that there's no... People are going to die no matter what decision you make. There is no way to have your name associated with any kind of healthcare bill where you're not going to have blood on your hands. Now, as a leader, sometimes you have to have blood on your hands because that's what leaders do. But Obama already has blood on his hands. Let Obama be the guy who murders people because his healthcare system collapses. Let Obama be the murderer. And then you can come in and do what has to be done. Right? Then you do what has to be done. But you don't... It's kind of like this. If there's an old woman walking down the street and she's falling over and the guy standing over her is the only thing holding her from falling over, but you know she's going to fall over and die anyway, you don't go edge the guy and say, hey, let me hold her. Let me hold her so she can fall down and die. She's going to die anyway. That guy killed her. Obama killed healthcare. Obama destroyed healthcare in America. Let Obama be the butcher. Stay out of that mess. Stay in your lane. Let Obama be the butcher, and then you can come in and do what you have to do. And don't get in the middle of that because there's no way to fix it. If you go single payer, do you feel natural and holistic medicine will be affected? That's the whole problem. I think about healthcare policy all the time. I know more about healthcare policy than PhDs. And the only way to put it is a complete and total mess. Anybody telling you they understand healthcare policy in America is a complete liar. Anybody who tells you, oh, I understand healthcare, they don't understand anything. It is so complicated. There are so many layers to it. But that's the whole point. Is there are little things we could do, but to do what has to be done, you have to wait for it to fail. You have to wait for Obamacare to fail. And that's the only way to do it. Let it fail, and then you can step in, and then you can do what you have to do. It's the whole point. Stay out of healthcare. There's no way to win. When you have old people, children, and people with cancer in front of you, if you can avoid that, stay away from it. This is branding, and you might call it cynical or jaded or whatever you want to call it. That's fine. You can call it jaded. I don't care. Reality is that you don't want to be anywhere near sick children, people with cancer, and old people who are dying and have to make those kind of decisions. Especially when Obama and the Democrats already made those decisions. They made them. Make them own it. Make them own their decisions. Stay far, far away from it. Now, another thing that we talk about, though, is illegal immigration, which is kind of funny. It's kind of funny. Illegal immigration is just a euphemism for low-skilled wages. And we don't need more low-skilled wages, but what happens is that people who are illegal in the country illegally, they have the emergency rooms in California, they get emergency treatment for routine care. They don't pay the bills, and then that raises healthcare costs. So many of our problems are connected to illegal immigration, which is ultimately just a way of saying low-skilled labor immigration, slave labor. Malibu, I love how out of touch these people are. Malibu is going to become a sanctuary city. You know why? Because their slaves are in the country illegally. Rather than pay, these people are so rich I went to law school in Pepperdine. This is why I hate rich people. Call me a Democrat if you want to. Call me a Democrat if you want to. But when you're around a lot of rich people, especially rich liberals, they could just pay their people more. Why don't they buy health insurance for their people? Why don't they pay their people more? They say, oh, we're going to be a sanctuary city. No, they pay these people slave wages, man. Why is it that when feminists like Sheryl Sandberg talk about having it all, they don't talk about the brown women who take care of the children? When is the last time you've heard a white feminist woman making millions of dollars, or in Sheryl Sandberg's case, hundreds of millions of dollars? When's the last time you heard a white feminist say, thank you, brown women, for taking care of my children? Thank you, nannies. When do you ever hear that? They are nothing but slave labor to the people. Nannies don't make anything. These people are rich. They can afford to pay them so much more. They don't pay him. Arnold Schwarzenegger impregnated his nanny and then had an illegitimate love child that he wouldn't even acknowledge. But then he wanted to go after Donald Trump for being a little crude in his language, right? No, this is all true. People don't know this. Donald Trump had an illegitimate child with his nanny. And speaking of which, if you compare Arnold's son with the nanny to Arnold's other sons with Maria Shriver, who was a Kennedy, good breeding. Maybe the Kennedys were a little too inbred. Maybe there was too much inbreeding in the Kennedy, because the one son who actually looks like Arnold is the one he got from the nanny. So the eugenicists out there will have to figure that out for themselves. Maybe the Kennedys were too inbred. So Arnold got his nanny pregnant, didn't acknowledge his half Latino son until he got busted. And even then, the first time they posted an Instagram picture, Arnold said, oh, it's been a very trying time with his son. Right? What a piece of shit. So he has an illegitimate son, and then he acts like the victim. Arnold goes, oh, it's been a very trying time with all this and me and my son. No, it isn't, you piece of shit. Like, you knocked up the nanny, bro. You knocked up the nanny. Arnold. Yeah, come on, guys. You know who I'm talking about. Get out of here. If I said Donald instead of Arnold, you know who I'm talking about. Get out of here. Stupid questions. We all know who I'm talking about. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Or maybe you didn't know, because maybe I'm actually red pilling you. So then I retract that. Maybe I'm being too hard on you. I forget that a lot of you have been raised on media, so you don't know everything that I know. So hold on, I'll red pill you. Arnold Schwarzenegger knocked up his nanny and housekeeper, their home slave. So Arnold knocked up his home slave, and he got busted for it, 5-6 years ago. He didn't acknowledge his nanny his illegitimate son from his nanny until on Instagram a few months ago. But when Pussygate happened, Arnold was all over that and was saying Trump is a bad man and how dare he not respect women and have some integrity. Arnold, dude, you banged your nanny, who was essentially a slave. So in a way, it could have been rape, as far as you know. I mean, what choice would she really have? I mean, really, if Arnold is trying to be with her, does she really have the power to say no in that kind of situation, right? So there's a lot of power dynamic questions that we should ask about there and contextualize what happened within that power structure of Arnold and the Kennedy family and the nanny, right? Point is, he's a scumbag, but they're all like that. All of these I've never met a millionaire Democrat, a rich Democrat who is not, because millionaires are not rich anymore, but I've never met a rich Democrat, and I lived in Malibu, who is not a complete and total piece of shit. I'm talking the worst people in the world. They're garbage. Malibu is now a sanctuary city, but they're not going to give a raise to these people. They make so much money, guys. They'll go out to dinner, $500 dinners. Nothing. Nobu Sushi. Go look at the menu at Nobu Sushi. You'll go to Nobu, have a few rolls, a little bit of sake, $250, $350 a person. No big deal, right? Tim's here. Tim can tell you. Tim can tell you how these people lived. He's been around these Hollywood scumbags. They have so much money. They have so much money, but they can't pay their people a little bit more money, right? They can't pay their family their family that they care so much about that they have to become a sanctuary city. They can't pay them a little more money, but they're going to lecture the rest of us who actually have to live around more criminal elements, right? They're all trash. This is why I hate rich liberals, because they want slave labor. And that is ultimately what the immigration debate is about. If you can afford slave labor, hey man, it's great. If you can afford slave labor, then you want open borders, because you can live in a gated community like Malibu. Now what's going to happen is when things get bad in America like there's in South Africa, if you're white in South Africa, there's a rude awakening coming for a lot of people. So in a way, old Cernovich is going to get the last laugh. In a very dark way, I'll get the last laugh. The way I see it is, if I lose and the Democrats win, right? Eventually, their children will be raped. The rich kids will be raped. In South Africa, you can be rich. It doesn't matter. You can be rich and live in these nice neighborhoods in South Africa. They'll still rape your children in front of you, boil your children alive, laugh at you while there's a knife in your stomach and you gurgle. There was even a guy, man, you should never, this just shows I have a dark personality. You should never rejoice in another person's suffering, because that is very bad karma for you. But there was a guy, he was an anti-white racist who was white himself. And he had said there's no crime in South Africa. And boil kids alive, Google it. Oh no, if you want to be red-pilled about what's coming for white people in America, they rape newborn infants, they boil children alive in front of you. No, you can find all this stuff. That's what cracks me up, is everything I say you can Google and fact check, and you can find it yourself. So there was a white guy who was an anti-white activist and said there's no such thing as white genocide and white people are terrible. Well, you know how he went out? You know how he died? You know how he died? A couple of these people who he said didn't exist, they came in and stabbed him in front of his children. He died bleeding to death in front of his child and his wife. You can Google that. He was, I forget his name, I don't have my computer handy. One of you guys can Google it. I forget what his name was, but the hell was his name? Somebody find this story. Yeah, it's escaping me. Yeah, he was killed in a suburb of Cape Town. Anyway, he bled out to death in front of his own children. And this was an SJW. Right? This was an SJW in South Africa who denied reality. So people can deny reality. 50% of the population of the world in by 2100, 50% of the world. Who are you, Truth Raider? You're trying to create drama. Tim's not trolling me. So I can tell if people are trolling me or not. So yeah, don't cause drama, okay? Everybody's in a good place now, and people who want to cause drama, you just need to, okay, you're blocked for causing drama. Yeah, people who want to cause drama, we don't need you here. We got enough drama. We got enough drama right now. Enough drama right now. By people trying to kill us, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm good for an hour of internet drama now and then when people want to troll me. But you got to keep focus. And right now, the big priorities are that this is about keeping America from becoming like South Africa. By 2100, 50% of the world's population will reside in sub-Saharan Africa. Where are those people going to go? This is what people don't want to talk about. In 2100, 50% of the world's population will reside in sub-Saharan Africa. Where are they going to go? Where are they going to go? Well, if Democrats are in charge here, they're coming here. If Democrats are in charge, they'll say, okay, we'll bring in more people. And then Minnesota is going to become just like Somalia. There's parts of Minnesota that are no different from Somalia. That's the thing, we have no-go zones in America. We have definitely, what does South Africa have to do with the USA? I have to block you for being a stupid person. You're blocked. What does South Africa have to do with the USA? That's just a really dumb question. Unbelievable. Really, really disturbs me how uneducated, uninformed people are. The hatred of white people is worldwide. Is Africa a danger to America? Well, I don't know. Is Africa a danger to Europe? Why don't you go talk to the police in Denmark and in Sweden? So what's going to happen when that population keeps rising? Right? When the population keeps rising, where are they going to go? Who's going to feed them? Right? Who's going to feed these people? They can't self-govern. In South Africa, they can't self-govern. So who's going to feed people in sub-Saharan Africa? Right? That's just real talk. You don't have to be, you don't have to be a particularly educated person to just say, okay, they can't self-govern for whatever reason. Other people can discuss what reason that is, why that is, right? I don't know. Who knows? Who knows why? But we do know that there are no functional democracies in sub-Saharan Africa. So why are there no functional democracies in sub-Saharan Africa? I don't know. Other people have to figure that out. Ask them kinds of questions. Maybe do research. People have to ask some kind of questions. Always ask questions. But the reality is, empirically speaking, there is no functional democracy in sub-Saharan Africa. Stefan Molyneux has very educational and informative videos on South Africa. I mean, most people, here's the thing, man. And this is why what I don't really like about being so famous and everything, is there are people who follow me on Twitter and watch my Periscopes who don't know that Nelson Mandela was a terrorist. Right? And that's because I've gotten so big now, and I'm so famous, that people who were raised in the education system and the media system, they don't even know, they're not even caught up. So I have to argue. A lot of times it's frustrating because I have to argue with people about basic facts, right? That's the whole thing. Is people don't even argue with my conclusions. When I tell people that Nelson Mandela was a terrorist, people want to argue with me about that. And I'm thinking, oh man, you're just, you don't even know that. You don't even know that Nelson Mandela was a terrorist. Google necklacing and what Winnie Mandela would do. Let me tell you this. This is what the Nelson Mandela family would do. They did this to something like 30,000 people. If you were not part of their political party, they would tie your hands up like this, and then they would put a rubber tire around you. They'd put a rubber tire around you. They would fill the tire up with gasoline, douse it with gasoline, and then you'd be tied up, and they'd light it on fire. Light it on fire. So the rubber would stick to your skin and burn you to death. Burned alive. It's called necklacing. The reason it was called necklacing is because the rubber would leave, it'd be like a necklace as the tire melted around your neck. So you can Google this shit. Google necklacing. You can find this. If you see the pictures, you might throw up. You may not be able to stomach what you see, but you can go ahead and watch this. It's real. It's happened 35,000 times at least. And this was by Winnie Mandela and Nelson Mandela. You Google this shit. So there are people who don't even know that Nelson Mandela was a terrorist, which is a factual statement. And then they want to argue with me about demographics and visionary stuff, big picture stuff. You got to get your facts done first. You don't even know that Nelson Mandela is a terrorist. You don't even know what necklacing is. And by the way, there's no reason to... I'm not insulting you if you don't know this, because you were raised in an education system where only white people own slaves. We know this, right? You know that most people only think that white people own slaves. Take a survey of this. 90% of people in America, you can take a poll, believe that white people were the only people who owned slaves. You can Google this. This is all the verifiable fact. Even though every culture in the history of civilization, the world had owned slaves. Everybody owned slaves. And there's still slavery in the Middle East. And black people sold slaves, right? And not everybody who owned those slave ships on the transatlantic slave trade, not all of them were British, right? Not all those people who owned slave boats were British. But if you watch movies and stuff, they were all British, which I think is fascinating too, right? Isn't it fascinating that the only people who bought and sold slaves were British? But if you actually do research, you find out that there were people other than British who owned slave ships. You can do all the history for yourself, right? You do all this research. So people don't even know that. People don't even know it. They don't even know basic facts. There was the Barbary slave trade, which was Islamic slavery. And slavery is allowed under Islamic law. Most people don't know that either. Most people don't know that the United States Marine Corps, and I'm not going to go over this because I gave a whole lecture on this before. Most people don't even know that the United States Marine Corps was created because Muslims were enslaving white people and were attacking white American ships. And that is why the U.S. Marine Corps came to be. And when some very famous founding fathers went to talk to the Muslim emissaries and ambassadors, they go, "What are you doing?" And they said, "Well, under Sharia law, we're allowed to take non-believers or infidels as slaves." This is all true. So you can read all about the Barbary slave trade. White people were enslaved. White women were sold to sexual slavery. Children were sold to pedophiles. That's all verifiable, right? It's not even... I mean, I had an argument with the historian. New York Times best-selling author, historian, PhD. And he told me I was wrong. And I go, "Bro, you got a PhD. How about I just send you a Wikipedia entry?" I said, because here's the question I always ask people. I always say, if you tell me I'm wrong, what evidence can I give you that will tell you to re-examine your conclusion? And I go, how about I give you Wikipedia? Right? Because Wikipedia is practically fake news about anything on our side, right? And I send the Wikipedia and he goes, whoa, he had no idea. Had no idea about the Barbary slave trade. And he was an expert on American slavery. No idea. So a lot of people go, why is that relevant today? Well, I'll tell you why it's relevant today. Because it's an ideology, it's a mindset, it's a point of view where the ideology of Islam that allows you to have slavery is alive today. ISIS, they take sexual slaves, right? They have the slave girls and they rape them and everything. So nothing has changed from the time of the Barbary slave trade until today. The only thing that's changed is we have the power to stop it. The ideology hasn't changed, right? The ideology has not changed. We just have more power. That's the only reason we don't have slavery now. But the Qatar, they have slaves. It's all slave labor. The Saudis have slavery. It's all over the Islamic world. Africa, they still have slaves. Read about the pygmies, right? You want to talk about slavery in Africa, I bet you don't even know about the pygmies. See? That's the whole thing. People don't even know about the pygmies. Justin Wren, exactly. So, see? People who followed me along for a long time, they're already red-pilled. They already know truth. So they there is still slavery in Africa. Africans are enslaving other Africans. The pygmies. You can research it. You can research it. And then people wonder what is going to happen when that culture, right? Because here's what people don't understand. I'll give you a brief lesson on humanity. Okay, I'll give you a brief lesson on humanity. People are their culture. If the only thing you understand is, and think about it yourself too, how hard is it to change? How hard is it to change your mindset, to go against your culture, to go against your upbringing, to go against your society, right? Your culture controls who you are, all right? Start from that proposition. Your culture is going to control who most people are, not all, but most, as in 90%, and change is hard. Start from those propositions. And then you start to realize that if you bring in people from a culture like Islam, where you're allowed to enslave infidels, if you bring them over to America, they don't become American. They don't change their culture. Right? They don't change their culture. They bring their culture here. We'll talk about Sub-Saharan. Well, in Sub-Saharan Africa, they're Christian sects and they're Muslim and everything, but that's different thing right now. Okay. People bring their culture here, and we cannot now force people to conform to our culture because that would be white, racist, patriarchal, heteronormative, whatever, colonialism. That's why the world we live in, that's why I believe in closing all immigration, is that you can't have people come over and say, hey, you can't say, hey, your culture is primitive and barbaric and beneath our culture. If you're going to live here, you're going to have to rise up to our culture. Because if you say that, then you are a bigot. You're a racist, you're an Islamophobe, you're whatever you are, right? So you can't say that. I read necklacing was by Nelson Mandela's wife. Oh. So a person goes on Wikipedia for 30 seconds, and the best they can do is to say, oh, it was Winnie Mandela who was necklacing people. Right? We call that a Wikipedia expert. They Google something, they go on Wikipedia for 30 seconds, and then they know everything, right? They know it all. That's the tip of the iceberg. That's the tip of the iceberg. But I'm glad that you have learned that Nelson Mandela's wife, Winnie Mandela, was necklacing people, because that's bringing you, down the rabbit hole. But keep searching, keep going down the rabbit hole. There's a lot more there, trust me. But I'm glad that that's like a gateway drug. Your gateway drug. So that's the thing. In Africa, for whatever reason, they are not able to form functioning democracies with high trust societies. Right? So what is going to happen if you imported 100 million people from, say, Nigeria? Those 100 million people from Nigeria to America do not become Americans. America becomes more like Nigeria, because you're bringing in people from another culture. If cultures don't have functioning democracies, they don't have a high trust, they don't have certain values, you just can't let them in. You have to discriminate based on culture. But we now live in a world where you can't discriminate in anything. What I've said now, think about it. I think that I've colored well within the lines. Believe me, I know where the lines are. I think I've colored well within the lines. I've already said enough on this little Periscope that I would never be allowed on Fox News. Not even Fox News would ever have me. And I haven't even really, like I said, I know where the lines are. And I've colored them nicely. And I haven't said anything that could even hang me, right? I'm a lawyer. I know how to talk about things. But even where I've talked about, if you say Nelson Mandela is a terrorist and that he and Winnie Mandela were necklacing people, You're off Fox News because people will tell you that's a lie. People say that's a lie. You can't do it. You can't tell the truth. You're already off. You're already off, man. Mainstream is over. And like I said, all I've done is talked about facts, and I haven't even told you all the facts. I've only told you, gateway drugs. What I like to do is I like to give people gateway, and then you got to think for yourself, and then you got to follow the leads on your own. I'm not going to tell you everything that's true, right? It's not my job to tell you everything. My job is to just give you a little bit now, right? So as of right now, you now know that Winnie Mandela was a terrorist. Cernovich has stated zero facts. He's broadly stereotyped an entire continent. You're blocked. So you now know that Winnie Mandela was a terrorist, and that Nelson Mandela was a terrorist. But there's more. There's a lot more going on too. There's a lot more going on too. But you got to start there, and then you keep going down. A lot of haters here tonight. It's unfortunate, if people want to. Yeah, I'm blocking people left and right. I blocked 50 people tonight, which is weird. A lot of people, they don't want to be educated. But my late night scopes are actually my better scopes. My late night periscopes are always better because I'm more contemplative and quiet because I don't want to wake up the child. During the day, I'd still be ranting about various things, right? Because I'd get fired up. I'd be fired up thinking about all the sabotage and all the stuff we did, and then I would get wound up, and it would be a different thing. So basically, you are afraid to debate. You're blocked. You're not at my level to debate. That's the thing. You're not at my level. If you don't even know that Nelson Mandela is a terrorist, then you're not at my level. If you don't understand demographics and demographic shifts, then you're just not what's to debate. Right? You're not even at the level. Listen to old Hitchens interview advocating Mandela. I don't know. Hitchens was flawed man. I disagree with you much. Enjoy the lecture. Thank you. But there's nothing to disagree with because everything I've said is facts today. I haven't even gone edgy. This isn't even, that's the whole thing. We live in a world now where, and I think about this all the time, we live in a world now where this Periscope right here is edgy, but it's not even edgy. I can go a lot of different places that might surprise some people. This isn't even edgy, but this is already enough to be banned from Fox News, let alone CNN or anywhere else, right? This is already, you're over. Career's over, dude. You're never going to be mainstream at all. And this is not even, this is right. We could go all the way over here. But there's no point. There's no point to go. See, the thing you got to learn is that you want to send people down their own rabbit holes. You want people to think for themselves. That's the key. The key is you want to get people thinking about themselves. You want to get them thinking about. You want to get people thinking about how they're different quality immigrants, right? So right now. And this is a way, if you study euphemisms, you can kind of figure things out. You can find out, what's up, Ben? How you doing? If you study language and euphemisms, then you can already kind of figure things out. Nobody believes in, okay, well, here's a question. I'm not going to say nobody. I'm too smart for that. You guys are going to trip me up. But when people say illegal immigrant, do you know what they mean? We all know what they mean. We all know what they mean. And when people say immigrant, the media plays this game too. We know that the IQ of various immigrant groups differs. And that some immigrant populations have high IQs and they succeed and they do great in Silicon Valley. And then other immigrant groups are used as slave labor. And they're not starting tech companies. This is true, right? It's empirically true because examine everything that happens. People go, there are too many white guys in Silicon Valley. And I think, man, have you been to Silicon Valley lately? Right? There's a lot of Indians, a lot of Middle Easterners, a lot of Persians done very well. And I wish them very well. Right? I wish them well. But there aren't illegal immigrants starting tech companies. Does anybody ever ask that question? Has anybody ever said, why aren't illegal immigrants starting tech companies? They will freak out. They will be triggered. See, what I like to do is I like to trigger people without being offensive, right? This is why I'm far more effective than most other people. I can trigger people without getting offensive because I don't have to offend people. I can just trigger you by wrapping questions up within your own worldview. So the way I tell people is I go, why aren't illegal immigrants starting tech companies? Whoa! You get offended very easily, actually. I actually don't get offended, except by stupidity. So I always say to people, hey, yeah, Sam Harris got triggered and I call him a dummy. We'll gossip a little bit later. But I always say, why haven't illegal immigrants started any tech companies? People get real angry when you ask that. Because now you're digging in. Now you're digging in. So you don't have to go to these offensive places where most people go, because maybe when you're younger you don't have the nuanced view that I have. But you just say to people, hey, why are illegal immigrants not starting tech companies? That's all you got to ask. And then just let the mic drop. Mic drop. Watch them freak out. And you've said nothing offensive there, by the way, either. I could say, hey, I'm just asking a question. Why are illegal immigrants not starting tech companies? Mic drop. I don't say nothing else. And they don't have an answer for it. They're so triggered by it. And that's how I trigger all these people, right? Because I ran in those circles. I was pre-IPO on Facebook and everything. You can look all that up. I lived around all these tech weirdos, right? So I know how to troll them. And the way you troll them is you ask those kind of questions. You say, well, how come there aren't any illegal immigrant companies, right? Or when they talk about the pay gap. When they talk about the pay gap, you say, well, why doesn't Sheryl Sandberg start a tech company where they only hire women? Right? Because if women make less than men, then you, Sheryl Sandberg, was worth $1 billion, you would go take your money, start a tech company, and hire all women, and you're going to save on labor because of that pay gap. No answer. Nothing. See, that's the thing. You got to ask questions of people. That is effective rhetoric. It isn't all about there is no pay gap. You're not going to persuade these people with that facts. I just say, hey, Sheryl Sandberg's a billionaire. Why did she work for Mark Zuckerberg? Why did she start her own tech company and only fund and only hire women, and then she'll get a better deal on the people? And it's so common sense, right? It's so common sense, but they don't have an answer for it, right? Because we all know, but don't tell people what you know, right? Look, here's what you're going to learn. This is my best advice, especially if you're a young person and a young man. Don't tell people what you know. Power is in not revealing your power. Power is letting people think things but not really know, and nobody really knows what my views are. And that infuriates people. It infuriates guys on the alt-right, it infuriates people on the left. People are always trying to say, but what about your views on the world, man? I'm not here to tell you my views. I'm just here to ask questions and, share perspectives and get a conversation going. That's way more effective than if I tell people, here's what my true views are, and I'm going to beat you over the head with them, and I'm going to spurg out if you don't agree with them, and I'm going to get really angry because how dare you not. No. I'm just going to say, why doesn't Sheryl Sandberg start a tech company and only hire women? Well, because she couldn't. Sheryl Sandberg couldn't. That's the real answer. I mean, I'm not going to be all seductive, and I'll be a little real talk. Sheryl Sandberg couldn't start her own tech company. That's why. She rode the coattails of a bunch of, as she said, immature little boys to make all that money. She's nothing without them. That's the real reason, right? But rather than say that, because now you're putting people on the defense. If you say that, if I just go, yeah, Sheryl Sandberg rode the coattails of a bunch of boys, made a bunch of money, and now she wants to act like some kind of school marm. She's not impressing anybody, right? I could do that, but now people are on the defense. And what I want to do is form a question based on principles they accept as true, go within their frame, and here's what I mean. If you say, so people say rape culture. When people go, oh my God, 1 in 4 women are raped. 1 in 4 women are raped. You could say, they're not, and how dare you, and you don't know anything about facts, and I'm angry. You could say that, or you could say 1 in 4 women. Wow, that is like Somalia. Because in Somalia, 1 in 4 women are raped. So that means going to college is like as dangerous as going to Somalia. Whew, that's crazy, isn't it? Right? So what you've done there is you've accepted their frame as true while also making them look completely fucking stupid. Right? You've made them just look like the biggest fool in the room. Be like, yeah, I mean, college is just as dangerous as Somalia. 1 in 4, wow, crazy. And then you could even throw in, I don't even know why anybody would send their kid to Somalia or send their kid to college, because that's just as dangerous as going to Somalia or the Congo. The rape rate in the Congo is 1 in 4. Man. So that means if there are 100,000 girls on a college campus, 25,000 of them have been raped. Why would anybody send their kids to college? We need to shut down, and then you go in and then you really twist a knife. This is a national catastrophe. We need to shut down the colleges and the universities, because right now they are as dangerous as the Congo is. And we got to just figure out what is going on. We need to shut them down. We need to close down all colleges right now, because they're just as dangerous as the Congo or Somalia and parts of sub-Saharan Africa. So let's just shut them down. And then they, because we all know that it's bullshit. 1 in 4 women are raped. But that's how you play with people, right? Cat and mouse. Right? Wow, now I'm kind of chuckling. Exactly. That's the whole point. You got to toy with people a little bit. You got to toy with them. There's a time to be aggressive. And there's a time to really hit hard. But usually you want to just play with people a little bit. And that comes with experience, and you got to realize persuasion is seduction. If you want to meet a girl, what are you trying to do? If you're a straight heterosexual man, just be honest. You meet a hot girl, attractive girl, you want to persuade her to have sex with you, okay? It's just the reality. We can be honest here, right? You want to persuade a girl. You want to persuade her. Persuasion. Persuasion is persuasion. Because you want to have a nice, fun, consensual experience that everybody enjoys. So you don't go up to a girl and just mean mug her. Right? That's what these trolls do to me, or they do to other people, is they just go and they just mean mug you. Like they mean mug you online. You want to be a little playful. You want to be a little bit fun. You want to find a rhythm. You want to find a vibe, and don't go too hard too fast, but you don't want to go too slow, and then you find that kind of rhythm. That's persuasion for political persuasion too. Political persuasion is that I'm not just going to drop all my facts right here in front of you. That would be too much. I mean, if people really knew what I knew, man, they would lock me up, institutionalize me. They'd say I was crazy. If people knew what I know for a fact, right? Because again, people didn't even know about necklacing in South Africa, Winnie Mandela and Nelson Mandela being a terrorist, right? And dating is an interview for 2 people to see if they want to have sex. Of course a girl said that. No, if you want to have sex with a guy, you don't need to interview him. Okay? That's where like the girl perspective is always, no, it's really 2 people doing an interview. No, if you're an attractive girl, the guy wants to have sex with you. And if you're an attractive girl and you want to have sex with a guy, you know what you have to say? Hi, I would like to have sex with you. And then the interview is over. So no, it really isn't. You gotta, the man has to drive drive the event, drive the night, and that's why a lot of women say, Mike, I wish you would tell guys to quit being beta males because I can't find men who are assertive enough to make a move. I'm like, I know, man, I know. It's tough, though. It's tough. When you go on mainstream, you got to be, because now I'm thinking about running for Congress and stuff, right? So the things I say are going to be different than what I would have said a year ago or 2 years ago. Right? We got to be able to pivot a little bit. You got to be able to pivot a little bit. So I can't write, some of the stuff maybe I'd write before. It's different. Life goes on. You got to let some of that other stuff kind of move on. But the point is, a lot of girls all the time, every day, I'm so tired of men not making a move and not being assertive and aggressive. Which is like, yeah, of course. But that goes back to the whole idea that it being an interview or whatever. Right? That's the whole point. That's the whole point. Alright. Alright, I'll take a few questions. Only because my hair looks really good tonight. So because my hair looks really good, then I saw the college girls at the gym tonight checking me out. That's how I know I'm back in shape. That's how I know my hair game's on fleek. Can't even go to the gym by myself anymore, I usually train with Shauna. So, she did 9 rounds cardio kickboxing. So tonight I went by myself. She's gonna have to come to the gym with me, You can't leave me anywhere these days in this town. How do you win against the blue pills wife warrior? Divorce that's a long conversation. But read up on divorce court abuse. What is the Sam Harris? Oh, there is no the Sam Harris gossip is just that he's afraid to debate me, which is funny. Even though he challenged me to a debate and accepted it. Taking calls tonight? No, I have my phone downstairs. Will Milo come back stronger than ever? Yes and no, and I'll tell you why. We live right now in parallel universes, okay? So Milo will be bigger than ever in the illegitimate track, but not the legitimate track. And here's what I'll tell you. I never in my wildest, well, it's not even a dream, I didn't know what CPAC was. But I've never thought, you know what, Cernovich, one day you're going to have a show on Fox News, and one day you're going to be a keynote speaker at CPAC. Never in my imagination did I ever think that would happen. Why? Because I'm illegitimate. I'm indelicate. And that's fine. I've made my choices. Right? So that's the top track. The flip side to that is, other than the very top people, I'm bigger than most people on Fox. That's the whole point. So that's what I mean by the parallel track. Other than, the really top people on Fox, I'm bigger than most of the people. I'm not going to name names because I have friends doing shows, and I'm not going to get into the wee-wee measuring contest or whatever. But you can see who sells books and who doesn't and whatever. So the point is, I'm bigger than almost everybody on Fox anyway. But I'm illegitimate. Milo was illegitimate, bigger than me, and he was going to cross over to the CPAC conversation, the Fox News show, that kind of stuff. So he was going to be legitimate. So Milo is still going to come back very, very strong, but he is going to be illegitimate for the next year, maybe 2 years. Luckily, people have short memories, so maybe a year. But the point is, Milo is going to be illegitimate, especially because it was fake anyway. Nobody actually thinks that Milo is a pedophile anyway. The whole thing was dumb. Even people who wrote those stories told me, Mike, this is the dumbest story in the world. My editor made me do it because everybody else was talking about it. So nobody does. But the point is, Milo is going to come back very, very, very big. Right? Bigger than ever, but illegitimate. You bought the Cernovich book, but never a Fox book, exactly. So Milo's going to come back bigger than ever, but he's going to be illegitimate. He's not going to be quote-unquote legitimate, but we are building our own new legitimacy. This is the deep philosophical stuff a lot of people don't realize that goes behind the scenes that I think about every day is, at the inauguration, A lot of people thought it was dumb for me to throw the deplorable. A lot of people who have no vision. But I threw the biggest inauguration party, that was the most in-demand inauguration party, the deplorable, that week. People who went to the official inauguration said my party was better. When there was a CPAC after party, everybody agreed that Breitbart used to have the best after party. The party I threw was even better. All right? So I am creating my own new legitimacy. That's the whole point. I am, and this is Milo can do too, is you can create your own structures, and then you can be bigger than CPAC. And then rather, because here's the thing with me is I've always been so delusional, I never wanted to, for CPAC. One, because I didn't even know who it was. But two was, I would rather have my own thing going on. I've always said, go find where I tried to ever get a job at Breitbart or Daily Caller or Fox or anybody. Go ever find wherever try to get a job anywhere. You won't find it, don't exist. Find wherever sent a press release to anybody. Never done. Never done any of that. I've always thought, I want to build my own stuff. I want to build my own platforms. It's always been my mindset. I want to create my own. So even though I'm illegitimate or deplorable, I want to be so big that it creates its own legitimacy. So can Milo do that? Sure. He's got to make some mindset shifts. Milo's still in a lot of ways thinks like a old kind of media person. So he's got the big social media and he's building up milo.yiannopoulos.net, which is good. He needs to be doing more blogging, more periscoping, more Facebook Live. I mean, really, you got to be talking to your people every day. There's really no way around it. If you are building your own institutions and platforms, you need to talk to people every day. And by talking, I mean like this. Even if it's at midnight, right? Even sometimes you do it 3 p.m., sometimes, whatever. The point is, every day you got to talk to your people. No exception. And real conversations. So that's the way I think, because I'm my own TV network, right? Mike, you saved my life. Do you remember me? Yes. That's the way I think. So Milo can do that too. Milo's way bigger than I am. But he's got to build his platforms up in earnest. So rather than think, how can I direct traffic to Breitbart? How can I write big stories to Breitbart? Milo has to think, how can I write big stories for Milo? And create a unique experience for everybody who comes to my shows. Because here's the thing that I always got about Milo, right? Never really made sense to me. Milo would say yes to things that I would say no to, right? Because from my perspective, I think if I do an hour or two with this thing, I would actually be better off doing Periscope for an hour or two. And Milo's bigger than me, so I'm thinking, why is Milo saying yes to things that I would just say, no, I'll pass on, especially conventional media kind of stuff. And that was because, again, he was still in that older kind of mindset where, if CNBC calls, you take the call. No, I don't. I said no to the Daily Show. Daily Show I said no to. And CNBC, nothing to do with. These are small things. I only go on a real big show. If a show is massive, then I'll do it. But otherwise, I would just rather be with you guys for a couple hours. I'm not going to go on, do some 90-second segment on MSNBC that a few people see as filler content while they're taking a crap on the toilet and forget who I even am. That's time that I could have been, all that hair and makeup and the ride to the studio and getting mic'd up. That's 3 or 4 hours for a 30-second, 90-second clip. Imagine Milo doing 3-hour periscopes, right? How many views would a Milo 3-hour Periscope or a 3-hour YouTube Live or a 3-hour Facebook Live do? So rather than take that 3 hours and give that time to the fake news media, imagine he's doing that Facebook Live. Probably do 1 million views. So that's the whole point. Milo's got to think more in terms of as a publisher and not as a byline for somebody else's platform. You don't want to be a byline. You want to be the headline. Right? Mike Cernovich is the headline. That's how you want to think. So if he does that, he'll be even bigger. He's building up his YouTube. I get it, but he should have been doing this for a year and a half, guys. That's the whole point I'm telling you. Right? That's the whole point. And he should have self-published his book. So the point is that when you think of yourself as a publisher and not as a byline for somebody else's publication, then your whole mindset shifts, and the way you produce content shifts, and the interviews you say yes or no to shift. That's why I say no to most people. Is unless they're a friend, I'm not too big to do a podcast with a friend. No, I'm not saying that at all. But if MSNBC wants to do a 90-second segment with me, I know that I'm going to have to put on a suit, do hair, do makeup, get mic'd up, get driven to the studio. I know that's 3 or 4 hours out of my day. And that 3 or 4 hours would be much more valuable writing blogs, writing books, doing Periscopes, and doing videos. Rather than going onto the media. But he's young too. That's what people forget. Milo went so high, so fast. He's only 30 or 31. So he's a very, very, very young guy. Very young guy. So he's definitely. That's why I laugh when people think that he's over. What is he, 31? What is he going to do? Right? That's what cracks me up. Like Milo's done. What do you think he's going to do for the next 50 years of his life? Like, do nothing? Get out of here, right? Of course he's not done. He won't be keynoting CPAC, though, for a little bit. Dave Seaman spent 4 hours talking with Daily Show, and they didn't air anything. Yeah, exactly. I spent 45 minutes. This is why I don't take calls from the New York Times anymore. I spent 45 minutes talking to the New York Times, and they really wanted to get nitty-gritty into my policy views. And because they couldn't get a soundbite out of me because I recorded it, because they couldn't get a soundbite out of me to make me look like a monster, they just don't air it. That's what they do. They waste my time. That's why. That's another reason I don't talk to media. Is they'll talk to me and they'll realize, oh wait, he's not going to give us a soundbite. He's not going to give us a Nazi salute. He's not going to be some dancing monkey for us and do something really dumb that we can use to discredit people on the right, to discredit Trump, and discredit everybody. So what they do is they'll kill the segment. So it becomes a waste of my time. You got to talk to the people. You got to talk to the people directly, not to filter through intermediaries. Mike, how can we better achieve victories in the culture war? Man, a lot of Trump haters on here tonight. Victories in the culture war, you achieve them in the gym. Think about it. You achieve the culture wars in the gym. How does that make sense? Think about it. If you're a bigger guy, you're hitting the gym, you're hitting the weights hard, you wear that MAGA hat, they going to take a swing at you? Right? They going to take a swing at you? You gotta project strength. If you're a man and you're right wing, going to the gym is not optional. If you do not go to the gym, don't at me. Because that is how you win the culture war. Then the brand of the right, the brand of the Trump supporters, the brand of the Cernovich supporters, the brand of the Milo supporters, that brand becomes the brand associated with strength. That's how you win the culture war in the gym. People don't think like this. Ben Shapiro, do I want Ben Shapiro representing my brand? That would be my question to you. If Ben Shapiro tried to wear a Cernovich hat, I would say, little Ben, I'll give you a refund. Don't rep my brand. You run away like a little weasel. You look bad. You look weak. Talk a big game, but you can't hang. Gotta leave. Don't want him anywhere near the brand. Rich Lowry, National Review guys, don't want him anywhere near my brand. Nowhere near my brand. That's why they're losing the culture war. That's why they are losing the culture war. They don't have leadership. People don't want to follow them. They don't have charisma. They don't have an aura. Glenn Beck, right? Bill Kristoff, Jennifer Rubin. Crowder's corny, but at least he goes to the gym, right? You don't hear me hating on Crowder, shading Crowder. A little corny. He's corny in that kind of campy Christian comedy way. If you ever grew up in churches, he's that church kid. Thinks he's real funny, but you can't have... Clean comedy isn't that funny. There's a reason comedians use a little bit of cursing and vulgarity, right? So you don't hear me, because at least, yeah, he's energetic and he takes care of himself. He's got a good brand. Crowder has a good brand. Yeah, he's not funny. Crowder would be better if he stopped trying to be funny. If he realized that he's not going to be the right-wing Saturday Night Live. If he just said, you know what, I'm not going to be a right-wing Saturday Night Live. I just don't have that it factor. But you know what? I'm an intelligent guy. I have a good presence. I'm going to play up these aspects of my personality. Then he would do even better. I don't think Crowder's gay. He's married, isn't he? That would be the big thing. It's hard to be. It's hard to be. But yeah. Well, Crowder called Rogan a bully. I didn't actually. The Joe Rogan, Steve Crowder thing is, if you watch the Joe Rogan, here would be the Joe Rogan, Steve Crowder podcast together. Joe Rogan is a mean drunk. Steven Crowder is a nice guy. And I don't mean that to shade Crowder. Joe Rogan is a mean drunk and Crowder is just a nice guy. And you can see that. Joe took a couple shots and he goes, don't you just like to fuck with people, man? Don't you just like to fuck with people? Debate me, Joe Rogan. Good luck with that. Good luck with that, Mr. Weedhead. Don't you just like to fuck with people? That's why Joe Rogan banned me from his podcast. Could you imagine him trying to debate me? Do circles around him. But Crowder is such a nice guy that he's like, Joe, you're being a bully. You're just being a bully. Come on. The bully stuff is what the SJWs say. Steve Crowder cannot be bullied. Steve Crowder is a grown-up. He is healthy, able-bodied. He has a big Twitter profile, a big YouTube. And you can't be bullied. So Crowder goes, Joe, you're being a bully. But that's because Crowder's a nice guy. He's a good guy. That's why you don't ever see me say anything about Crowder. Is because he's a genuinely nice person. I'm not gonna. What am I gonna say? That makes you a jerk. You stole your whole deal from Rogan. Oh, really? Another stupid user. Doesn't really understand anything. Yeah, a lot of haters out tonight. I don't know what it is. Blocked like 100 people. Blocked like 100 people tonight. But that's the whole point. Crowder's a nice guy. But he's not particularly funny. And he needs to find a way to make another move. But you know what? He's doing okay. That's the thing. Crowder's doing fine. 15 gorilla. Alright, we hit 15 gorillion. Thank you. Mike, oh, come on, guys. Blocked. Don't sexually harass me on Periscope. 15 million likes. 15 gorillion. Thanks. Appreciate it. Actually, yesterday, I said I want to do 15 gorillion on my next Periscope. So I'm glad we hit that milestone. Anything else you guys got for me before I go to bed? I'm gonna go get some sleep here. What do you think about Stranahan probably fired from Breitbart? Stranahan, I don't think is a very good person. So I don't want to reopen that drama because my name is so much bigger than his that I don't want to make him famous off of my name. But no, he's definitely not a good person. Can you address Lee? No, I actually... So I'll tell you, if anybody... I'll give you a life tip. Man lesson. So I don't want to reopen the drama with other people. But I'm going to give you a lesson and man lesson. Lee and I would talk on the phone. Lee has my phone number. We would talk. I worked very hard to promote him all the last year. I got him a bunch of Twitter followers. I was always trying to help him out because I knew he had never really hit that big break. He hadn't broken through. And then Lee would disagree with me, and then you know what he would do if he didn't like what I was doing on Twitter? Pop quiz. If you have my phone number and you think that I'm doing something online that you don't like, what should you do? Pop quiz. You have my phone number, we talk on the phone, we text, we have a relationship. You don't like what I do. Should you, A, call me, text me, say, hey Mike, what's going on? Or should you, B, troll me on Twitter, try to put me on blast, try to call me names, insult me, or do whatever, right? That is just a basic lesson on life, on being a man, on being a woman, on being anybody. You got my number. We talk. I help you out. How about you just say, hey, Mike, what's going on here, buddy? Rather than do Periscopes obsessing about me. See? So, yeah, you got nothing to do with people who, if you don't have the basic awareness to say, hey, dude, maybe I should text the guy first rather than just trash the guy on the internet. Right? So he was trashing me all over the internet. So I blocked him, and then he threw a fit. Threw a fit after I blocked him. And then he thought he was going to go deplorable. I said he shouldn't show up to my deplorable. Shouldn't show up to my party. So that's the idea is, be a man, reach out, don't cause internet drama with people, right? And then, of course, Lee, his whole thing is, all Lee can say is he knew Andrew Breitbart, and Andrew Breitbart was his friend. That's all he can say. I can say I've broken news. I've written books. I've done a documentary. I've traveled. I've done this. I can actually talk about my own accomplishments. And I don't need to say, oh, I was friends with Andrew Breitbart. To me, if you're telling people you were friends with Andrew Breitbart, do you know what that means? Real talk. Are you ready for some real talk? If you are telling people you were friends with Andrew Breitbart, you are a loser. And you have failed at life. Because you don't have your own accolades and accomplishments and achievements to rest on. Oh, I knew Andrew Breitbart. He was a great friend of mine. I know all things about him. What have you done with your life, though? Plus, everybody claims to be friends with Breitbart. Because he was a very friendly, outgoing guy. He talked to all kinds of people. So what does it even really mean he was a friend? Right? Breitbart had a lot of friends. What are your own accolades? What have you done? If you're in journalism, what stories are you breaking? If you're a filmmaker, where are your documentaries? People go, I'm a filmmaker. And I go, okay, well, I mean, there's my documentary, DVD. It's on iTunes now, going to be on Amazon on Thursday. I'm a filmmaker. Here you go. Here's film right here. Here you go. Author. Okay, here's one of my 3 books. Author. You can go buy them. Read my books. So you don't even hear me saying that I know people. Like, oh, I was friends with so-and-so. I have my own accolades going on. So all these people say, oh, I'm a filmmaker. Where are your films? Where can I go watch your films? Right? And that's just the reality. That's just the reality. Is what have you done with your life? Worry more about what you're doing with your life. People who hate on me, I don't have any time for. I have enough people. Here's the way I kind of put it. I cannot keep in touch with all of the people who like me. Right? I can't keep in touch with people who want to talk to me, who want to have genuine conversations. Proud to be a Patreon. Thank you. We're having a call this Friday, actually, 5 p.m. So I can barely, I shipped out DVDs, and I still owe people DVDs, right? Because some of them got sent back, and there were addressing errors and everything. I can't even keep track of all the people who like me and the people who want to watch my movies and buy my books. So I don't have time for people who want to backstab me and hate on me. Just don't have time for it. Not worth it. Just not worth it. So that's the reality. All right, we're going to get going. We hit 15 Gorillion. Very happy day. Following on Medium. Medium.com. The @ Cernovich. I have a Medium account, and I've been publishing some of my best articles on Nightbin, if you only knew how bad it was. I've been publishing some of my best articles on medium.com / the @ Cernovich. Gorilla Mindset is a great book. Thank you. So go to my Medium page, and you can also find... I'm still doing Danger and Play, yes. I'm doing a redesign, though. I'm going to get a redesign. I'm going to get t-shirts, too. That's the whole thing. This is what I tell my haters. There are people who want to buy t-shirts from me. I don't even have time to sell people things that they want to buy. That's another line, too, when the trolls are like, oh, you're a shill. I don't even have time to shill everything to people who want to give me money. So I sure don't have time to deal with all the haters and the losers. Thanks for tuning in. Mike Cernovich, dangerandplay.com, Gorilla Mindset. Find it on Amazon. You can now find Silenced on iTunes. You can find Silenced on iTunes right now, and then Thursday it will be on Amazon. I just found out. Thursday it'll be on Amazon. Big deal. If you've watched it, leave a review. Thank you.